We have a special guest today in our studio, Nicholas. How are you doing?
Good.
And we are going to talk about how delay sometimes is the perfect thing that could happen to you, and it's not always bad that success is not overnight thing. It actually prepares you how to handle success.
Mm-hmm.
One thing at the time, like we started with one property, and you started as an intern at one company, and it took you decades to now get into a higher up, status, and now we just closing on the fifth property, right?
Well, it's like anything in life, right? You'll get everything in life that you want, just not at the time you want it, right? And if you look back at, anybody's life or my life or whatever, you get everything. It's just you just don't get it at the exact time that you want.
Well, you could get everything. Like sometimes you might not get every little thing, but you get what you want to work towards.
Yeah.
Pick what you want.
Everyone wants to, I'll just use an example. Like people want to be like an executive of a company, right?
Yeah.
But, you can't, for the most part, right? You can't be just an executive at a large company out of college, right?
Right.
You just don't have the experience, you don't have the knowledge. And, that's what a lot of kind of that delayed gratification or delay, what it does, right? Is you need that experience.
It prepares you.
Yeah, exactly. And, just using renovations as an example. The first time I was hanging cabinets, it was like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what? And now it's almost like it's autopilot.
For our rentals.
Yeah, it's autopilot, right? I was doing a couple little things today, just random maintenance tasks, and years ago, I probably would have made 5 trips to Lowe's, been like, oh geez, I got to go back to wherever to get this, and
we were overwhelmed, when you do something the first time. So imagine if we were handed 5 properties all at once. Like we would not had infrastructure, we would not had contacts.
Yeah,
we
if
would have been
anybody's
way over our heads.
Yeah, given that much without any sort of experience or safety net, you're gonna probably fail, right?
And that's why lottery winners, that win overnight a large amount of money,
mm-hmm.
they're actually 30%, some people say even 70% end up filing bankruptcy because they don't have that knowledge how to manage like a smaller or medium budget, and now they're given this budget, they're like their mind just goes crazy. They don't know what to do with it.
It's the same thing with a lot of professional athletes, they train and train and train, and they make it to become a professional athlete and are getting a good salary, but you can only be a professional athlete for so many years, right? Your body can only take that level of intensity and training for so long. It's also statistically, people that make it all the way to the Olympics, they typically have a hard time after the Olympics, especially if they don't place or medal, because they've worked all day, every day for years, and then it kind of comes and goes, and then you're back to square one, right? So, don't think of as necessarily like a delay in life or a delay in progress. It's really more getting a delay in, for getting that experience, right?
Well, to have and manage large projects or large property or larger business, you have to have the capacity. You have to be like a vessel that all that energy
mm-hmm.
can flow through you, and all that knowledge and all that
mm-hmm.
experience. Because if somebody puts you into that management position or a CEO, chances are you might bankrupt that company.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there is this loss in the world, and you might believe in the God or just karma or higher, whatever you believe in. But like world almost protect us, like you can't achieve and gain more until you prove, okay, I'm now was able to manage this, so now the world or other people around you, then they'll notice, and then, okay, well, this person proved themselves. They now can be given more responsibility, because having it more is also means greater responsibility.
Yeah, and you know, people want to move up, right? They want to move up the ladder. They want to you know, get to that next step.
Or I want to make this much money
Right.
tomorrow.
But you know, you need to prove that you're doing that before you actually have it. And that might sound weird, but coming from the IT world, you know, you need to essentially be doing the job before you get the job.
You have to prove yourself. Yes, you have to bring that extra value, because if you want, well, I want more salary, but then you're barely completing the tasks you have given right now,
Right.
then no manager or universe is gonna give you more what you can handle. It's
Right.
just that simple.
Yeah, you know, your job is your job, right? And if you're doing the job and you want to get to the next level, you need to be at that next level to get to
Go and beyond, go up
Right,
and beyond what you're
exactly.
doing
Because if you know the status quo becomes what you want, right? That next level, or so now that next level is just the status quo, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I was talking about is, you know, a couple of weeks ago we were talking with an individual that owns a construction company, and you know, during an interview for a prospective employee, they go over minimums, right? You know, the minimum for this job is you arrive on time, you're dressed to be working outside pretty much all day in Vermont weather. You know, you're
not using drugs on
right.
the job.
You know, you're
Pretty basic.
yeah, you're sober. You're able to complete the task.
You can drive.
Right, and that's the minimum, right? If you do that, you're getting your salary. That's what you're hired for. But you're not going to be getting advancement. You're probably not going to get a bonus. But, you know, if you start with the minimum and you just keep your head down, and a lot of times, like in my career in IT, you know, I would keep my head down and a project or something would come up and I would just start working on it, right? You know, within reason, right? You know, but that's how you advance is you, hey, this job, I want this job, right? And it's like, okay, well, what are the qualifications? Well, I'm already doing the job, right? You know, this is what the job is. And that's how you really advance in life, is kind of just keeping your head down to a point.
Acquiring skills.
Yeah. You know, looking at what the next step is.
And going above and beyond, you know, staying later, staying longer. Like if you're the first one out through the door, chances are, you know, you're not gonna advance very well if you're not willing to go extra mile. But that's like with any skill, you know, it takes 10,000 hours. You don't become world-class athlete, you know, overnight. You don't become world-class pianist, musician overnight. It's like hours. And that's what maybe, you know, when I was studying music in high school, it really taught me how being, you know, patient and just putting work every day, how it builds the skill year over year. Now suddenly you were only to play this one small piece. Now 2 years later, now you can play this longer piece, more intricate, you know, details. So it applies to anything. It applies to business as well. You know, managing smaller teams, then you can manage bigger teams.
Right.
Managing smaller property to bigger.
You know, managing a construction project is very similar to managing a technical project, right? You know, project management is project management. You have contractors, you have subs, you have, you know, employees. You know, there's a lot of transferable skills from one to another. And a lot of times people say like, hey, you know, you're in IT, you must be really technical. And, you know, I hope that I, you know, am quite technical. I believe in my skill set. But at the end of the day, your technical skill set doesn't help you advance in IT. And, you know, people might think that that's crazy, but
I wouldn't think that.
A technical skill set is very important. However, in IT, to get to that next level, especially outside of a technician or an engineer role, you need dual sets of skills. And the most important is the soft skills, right? You know, you need those soft skills and the technical skills. But you know, the technical skills are obviously very important. You're not going to get to an extremely high level if you're not technical, but you're really not going to get anywhere if you can't have a conversation with people,
Right.
you know, and
The same in business.
yeah.
Just knowing the numbers, you know, it's one thing, but then being
Of
good
course,
in
you need
sales
to
and
you need to know the
business.
numbers, right? You need to be confident, but you know, you talk with really good salespeople, and they're smooth talkers. They know when to kind of back down and go forward, and you know, they know how to kind of steer the conversation. And the really good ones are the ones that do it, but they're doing it for the right reason, right? You know, they really want to find out, what do you need? You know, the customer, what does Nick need? Indirectly, how can I fix that by selling him something, right? I mean, it's sales at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's selling people something.
Right. Yeah, and if you want to be successful, you have to understand that you gotta serve other people. You gotta be of service. Like we were talking the other day, how somebody was complaining that, oh, you know, this economy not so good, I don't have like the money, or like, oh, this job doesn't pay me well enough. You cannot be a victim and success at the same time. You have to be willing, okay, so you're not happy with your situation, can you pick up an extra job? Like, because we worked our day responsibilities, and then we managed rentals on the weekends, in the evenings on the side. We took on extra other projects. We're not too good to clean the toilet if we have to.
You know, ever since I could legally work, which is, I was working before I could legally work, right? You know, I was doing mowing lawns, shoveling, you know, whatever. And, you know, I'm thinking back just over the course of my life, and I've always had 2, sometimes 3 jobs.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't see that a lot of times.
The complainers usually are the ones that complain the most, usually not willing to do jobs that are, oh, that's below me, or like, I'm not gonna go like paint this wall for extra cash on the weekend.
Yeah, you know,
or,
perfect example. Today I went to a rental unit, and I removed moldy caulk from a shower, you know, and was it glamorous? No. Was it difficult? Not really. You know,
at this point you did it more like something different, fun to do, not because like we're lacking money.
Right. Yeah.
But,
you know, people will say, "Oh, you know, do you do all the maintenance and the renovations for your rentals?" And I say, not really. At least not really anymore.
Well, it's not the best use of our time at this point.
But where I'm going with that
occasion.
is, you know, people will say, "Hey, do you do all the maintenance, whatever?" And I say, "No, not really anymore." And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you must be really busy." And I'm like, "No, I mean, yeah, I am busy, but really, I just don't want to do it anymore."
Yeah, and you get to that point, but you know that wasn't the case at the beginning.
No,
you know?
you need that delay, so to speak, in life. That life's not perfect, right? Perfectionism often masquerades as high quality, which is not the case. But you know, life is not perfect. Apartments are not perfect. People are not perfect.
No jobs, no company
nothing is perfect. And sometimes you just have to be okay with it getting 80, 90% of the way there. And you know, you don't want poor quality work, but you know, I quickly learned years ago with doing renovations is just, you know, putting casing around a window. I used to go to the miter saw 10 times, 1/16 of an inch, half a saw blade, 1/16 of an inch, to, you know, have it fit just perfect. And I was like, okay, this is perfectionism masquerading as high quality. Really, it was just this fear of someone being like, wow, why does that look so bad, you know? And in the end, no one notices it. It still looks really good, but you can't spend 4 hours putting casing around one window.
Right. You don't want to be, progress, not perfection. That's what matters. You got to make progress. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll see, like a decade later or 5 years later. I mean, soon what is going to be almost like a decade that, we got married, and then a couple of years later we bought the first fourplex, and we both were working onto our careers to advance ourselves. But people that say, oh, well, you're fortunate. I don't feel that way, because I came to US with 2 suitcases without anything, and my both parents passed away, and I didn't, maybe I was lucky enough that I went to good high school. I was able to learn, good skills, music. I had an option to go to college, which I did not graduate because I chose to pursue other things like business eventually. But I'm because of hard work where we are today, and I want to make this video that you can be there too. If you get the right knowledge, talk to the people that done it. Like we've gone to networking events, and we try to hang around people that are like-minded, that they're not into getting wasted somewhere, that they're more like business-minded, professional
but
people.
I tell people that, like, the two of us, we're just normal people, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I had a good upbringing. I don't have any complaints about my upbringing, but we weren't filthy rich, and where we are today is because of a lot of hard work.
It's
and
just
sometimes
daily
sacrifice,
effort, and sacrifice.
But you put that hard work and that sacrifice into, delay, kind of, not delay life, but, to build up that repertoire of, contractors that you can call on, flooring people, painters. It's a good, they want to keep you happy, you want to keep them happy.
And things fall into place. It's almost like universe, like playing Tetris, and then wow, now we have this great person here, now we have this.
Yeah. And is there, over the years, like, oh, well, never calling that person again, 100%, Is there, like, times when I've had to ask contractors, like, guys, like, come on, like...
But then we learn what to look for, and we learn better what not to do. And not only
do you learn, the customer, but also the contractor learns that, okay, hey, I know for these people, this is what they're looking for. And you know what? They're looking for, a little bit higher end work, and they're okay with knowing that that's going to cost a little bit more, right?
Yeah, or like with the spa business, people that showed up day in, day out, they build regular clientele, even that I have therapists, You can't have sometimes, oh, I wish I had spa like you do, or I wish, sometimes they want to be like a manager, but you can't jump from just graduating school to now, running. It's gonna take time. Yeah, like I can show blueprint and help with marketing, but it's still gonna take some traction, a couple years to ramp up, pick up, hire more people to build out a location. Like nothing is overnight. So I just want to remind people, because in this day and age we see on Instagram everything like seems like so instant sometimes, but behind the scenes, there's like a decade of experience or 2 decades working up to something, or maybe somebody saved up money and now they have more money to start, not from zero. They don't have to do the treatments themselves. Now they can open a spa and just directly buy the franchise without having to do less like sweat work, just hire other people. So, you get like rewards like that over time for hard work and being able to manage your savings and invest wisely. But it is just because there was sacrifices made, and sometimes we used to talk, well, we also want to live now, we just don't always want to live for tomorrow. But we knew that we have to just say no to some things, and we didn't buy like a single family house. We still actually don't live in a single family property. There's other cottages here on our
There's people
land.
above us.
Yeah. So, and we're fine with that. You know, we have
Shared
four
washer and
bedroom
dryer.
now.
You know, it comes down to, you know, I was just, as I was driving around today running errands and stuff, and you know, my Jeep is, I don't even know, 9 years old. It's got 107,000 miles on it. Would I like a new vehicle? Absolutely. Like, you know, but do I really need one?
But
No.
your Jeep is still pretty
Yeah.
nice.
You know, I take really good care of it, you know, like I like cars just in general. So, you know, I wouldn't say that I'm sacrificing. I'm just maybe making more smart decisions.
Well,
right?
and my car is 10 years old, but you know the best thing about it, there's no payments to
Right.
to neither of our cars. And the more wealth I was able to acquire, the less these things impressed me. Like when I didn't have the money, I looked at like, oh, this very nice BMW, and oh, I wish I had one. But now what I can't, when I can, like I could go tomorrow and get it. Like I actually don't really want it because that's not what matters to me anymore.
I wouldn't buy a BMW or a Mercedes anyways, just because they're a nightmare to work on. And
Well, yeah,
I
they're
don't think
maybe
that
not
they're
the-
that great at cars, but that's just my opinion.
But let's say like a high-end Maybach Mercedes,
But
you know.
the thing is to be wealthy, be well off. You know, that's
It's about time,
That's
too.
the goal, right? The
It's not
goal
about
is
things.
not to look wealthy,
Right.
and you know, I'll scroll through these, you know, video. Hey, like I scroll sometimes too, you know,
Yeah.
and you'll see these videos of, you know, these influencers, and they're like, oh, you know, great, you know, day on the jet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, they you know, they say what day it is, they post it. Oh, you know, let me look up the tail number. Oh, interesting, that jet hasn't moved for 2 weeks. You know?
Yeah, it's probably
Huh.
like a rental.
So how much was that hour that you paid to rent the plane to
I
film your
actually
content?
never looked up. Did you actually looked up? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're into that like stuff like that.
You know, ever since I was little, I was into like the murder mysteries and the espionage videos
Yeah.
and the spies and stuff like that. And it's just interesting. And the reason why I always bring that up and say that to people is, you know, you trust but verify, you know, just like a firewall
Right.
in IT. Trust but verify, you know. If someone is flaunting their lifestyle, they probably don't have that
Yeah.
lifestyle.
And actually right now people already see through these things. I think like 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, it was like this very big craze about all these Lamborghinis. But now I think people already kind of like, oh, okay, that's like rented, that's fake. Now like people know more. People that tend to flaunt, you know, their wealth, they're probably just like one of those gurus trying to sell you the course, you know.
Yeah. People, it's much easier to be a course seller, you know, than it actually is to
Do the thing.
to do the thing that you're selling the course for, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I was at a conference a couple months ago, and we were doing speed networking, where you basically get about 5 to 10 minutes just kind of with different people, and you just kind of move around and move around. And, you know, I was talking with this guy, I think his name was Jeff. He's senior vice president of sales at HPE, you know, so one of the top guys, an executive. And we were just kind of chit-chatting, and we found out that we were both into vehicles, you know. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this guy drives, like, you know. So I was like, oh, like, you know, what's your daily driver? And he's like, oh, I got a Toyota Tacoma. And I was like, oh, hey, like, I used to have one years ago. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I'm just thinking, like, this is like the most normal guy, you know, right? And he doesn't need to flaunt that he's wealthy.
Yeah.
Because he is, right?
Yeah, and true wealth is also not really in the possessions. It's, for me, like at this point, wealth is in freedom and how many people I can help, or impact, like that was the reason why I got into franchising, because okay, well now I have these 2 location spa here, so I'm kind of okay, what do I do next? Like I really, as for me, okay, it's enough money, but like how can I impact like other people's lives for the better as well? And you know, and have fun in the process and learn, grow personally. How can I become a better business owner? Because by helping others, you become better too in what you're teaching others. So I definitely gained, you know, a lot of knowledge myself through this process of franchising, and now having first franchisee, seeing her journey, how she went from a hands-on 20 years doing massage and then finally becoming a massage you know, business spa owner. And she started with a smaller pop-up, but now, you know, she started growing, she's gonna keep growing together with us. So, and that's a delay too, you know, and sometimes it's in God's timing. You gotta trust the process, and all works. Sometimes delay is a protection, like we talked, that if you get suddenly like big inheritance or lottery ticket or sudden fame, success, you know, that can actually end up pretty badly. So the key, I think, is to focus on the journey and not so much destination, or the journey, how you can become the person that is able to handle that success, to handle those finances, to handle that responsibility that you're given.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Do you have any final words?
I think, you know, just in general, do whatever is right for you, right? You know, what's right for you and your family. Our journey is our journey. Your journey is yours. Ours is right for us. It might not be right for you. And that's okay, right? You know, there's a bunch of different ways to get from point A to point B, and just finding out what works for you.
And trust the process, and every journey is not the same. There's different ways to get from point A to point B. But I guess when this video, we were just trying to say that you gotta be patient and be willing to put in the work and not have too big of an ego, and things will happen because all work works. You know, if you put day in, day out, you show up, have the work is showing up.
Yeah, and you know, it's going to be bumpy. There's things that are going to pop up. You know, eventually, like with real estate and renovations, you can kind of minimize those after a while, just based on experience, or, you know, having the right people at the right time, or just order of operations. But you know, a colleague and I, years ago, we used to do a huge on snow event every year, or setting up different retail locations around the United States and Canada. And every time it's like, all right, the next one's going to be, you know, smooth sailing. Every time there'd be something would pop up. Every time you would tweak the process just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you get better every time. It's never
going to be perfect.
It's like a practice. It's not you just graduated school and now you know everything. No, you're gonna learn on the job, like medical practice. It never, you know, ends. You just continue getting better at it.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. We'll see you in next videos. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful next year, 2026. It's a horse year, so let's do good. Let's push forward.